Hello, hello, hello. Today I'm talking with Joanna Plaskonka. We talked about how songs help our brain, the risks of doing something for a team, and how perfection is not the friend we think it is. I'm Yves Hanul from Who's Agile. My pronouns are he and him. Welcome to my channel. You see a lot of agilists around me on this screen. If you want to hear me interviewing, please click that subscribe button because these are the people that I've invited so far. If you think I'm missing people, let me know in the comments. And that like button, well, if you liked today's interview, don't forget to click it. Hello everyone, and hello with me I have Joanna Plaskonka. Is that how I should pronounce your name?
Almost perfect. I'm proud of
What
it.
is perfect? What is perfect?
Well, to be honest, so I'm Polish, and in
Mhm.
our language, double N is pronounced. So if you want to be fully aligned, my name in the Polish language is Joanna. So you can hear this double N. And
Mm.
my second name should be pronounced Płaskonka.
So, Joanna Plaskonka. Is that better?
Better, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. I like to ask it online these days so people see with a lot of what we're doing, we're working remotely with people from many different nationalities, and then it's good to actually know about people's name. And on top of, you said you're from Poland, and let's bring in the location. So I'm here in Belgium, in Ghent in Belgium, and let's ask Google Maps to go where you are, and you are somewhere near Warsaw, if I'm correct.
Yes, I'm currently located in Warsaw. That's correct.
So that shows us also a little bit how far we are, not that far. And also, let's bring you back. Also, time-wise, it's 11:08 at my time on a Saturday morning. What time is it on your side?
Exactly the same.
We're in the same time zone, which is in well a big part of Europe, I would say.
Yes,
Not everywhere,
indeed.
but still. But that's already something extra to know. But for the people that don't know you, could you say some more about who are you before we jump into questions?
Yeah, sure. So let's try to make it short. So I'm an engineer. This is my background, and I have a PhD in robotics. I did my master's in control engineering, and later PhD in the robotics. Um, I
Wow.
have a lot of experience when it comes to Scrum and agility. My journey started around 13 years ago. So it's a
Wow.
long, bumpy road for myself, and lucky to still be a part of the journey. And around 2-3 years ago, I became a professional Scrum trainer at Scrum.org. So another path in my journey opened up, and I'm still a PSD, a part of the community, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, and that's it's an interesting part when you say you have a PhD in robotics and engineering, and yeah, gradually moving into to agility. How is did you, or do you have any experience with agile in the robotics sphere? Because I can imagine that there. So could you say a little bit about that?
That's a really good story. So, as you know, this is my background. So, I spent around 9 years at the university, and I just started to see the dots that can be connected because at the same time, during my PhDs, I was working for a big international company. It is Nokia in Wrocław, and I was helping in creating the software for base transmission stations. So it was a big scale, big product, interesting challenges. And I've learned the basics, the fundamentals of Scrum and agility there. So to some extent, I already tried to see some similarities when I was working both at university as a PhD PhD student. I had my classes with students. I was participating in classes as a student. But the more important point happened later in my life. So, some time ago, I joined the Polish company, which is called No Magic, and it is a company that has an amazing mission to automate tedious, repetitive tasks in the warehouses. And they decided that they will do that by creating robotic station. So I joined this company for around year and so as a Scrum Master, as a change agent, and I was working with robots, helping people translate problems from that world to solutions into logistics. So yes, we were using agility in this area in the robotics.
And really, I like when you the way I kind of interpret what you're saying is you need to do some kind of translation between what the robots are doing and what the customers are wanting, and vice versa. And I see a lot of agility in trying to understand different worlds, because of course you think you explain something correctly and the robot does something else because you were not clear. You get very quick feedback, I would say. Is that correct?
It is. So there was a fantastic beauty in that process because in the office, by the way, this is also a company that is in Warsaw, is located in Warsaw. In the office, there are some laboratories and there are some stations, robotic stations, that to some extent mimic the environment that can be found in logistics, in big warehouses. So what I really enjoyed is that I was even participating from time to time in such process directly. We were discussing, thinking like, "Hey, what about an experiment? Okay, sounds like a plan. Let's do it." Quick change, someone connecting directly to the station, uploading the code, someone changing the environment, because another beauty of that product is combining software, hardware that can be bought, existing hardware, but also creating your own parts. So mechanical engineers were also involved.
Mm.
And then, okay, quick changes, boom, let's make it happen. I also recall a fantastic day when the team achieved almost continuous flow. So it started with, what is the problem that we are solving today? Okay, we want to improve that and that. So what we can do? Well, we can add this to the software, and we will also need some prototype when it comes to mechanical parts. So
Mm.
different experts talking to themselves. Then they agreed, okay, I'm going to this part of the office. I'm going to prepare the mechanical parts. And the other person, okay, I will write the code, I will test, I will ask other for help. And in 2-3 hours, meeting again, conducting experiments, gathering feedback, what we can do to improve. If you change that and I change that together, it should work better. Yes, let's do it. And once again, going back, doing the work, testing on their side, integrating the work, and then launching on the real robot in this station in the laboratory. So I have to say that whenever we have a chance to invite someone to see this process, to go through the office, they were always amazed because real robots, real solutions, and things that you can so easily see, right? So you don't have to see this first feedback. You don't have to send the robot to the other country, to a big warehouse or to the other part of Poland. You just can do it in this laboratory and see it and touch it. Of course, occupational health and safety still holds, right?
Yeah, I was wondering about, okay, it's you need at some point to some, yeah, to keep it safe, because robots if you change something and you're not paying attention. But I like the fact that you say you did it in the laboratory, so you learned there. You could gradually improve. I assume you can also do it with smaller versions of robots that are in the warehouse. Basically, then it's a scaled up version where when you learn it in a small scale, it is mostly the same. Probably you need to do some recalculations on some of the maths and stuff like that, but still there is you can
I
do
would
some tests with
say
that.
we have these lessons learned. So I would say that depending on the problem, some of the problems can be learned using smaller robot, simpler robot. But in fact, if you are thinking about, okay, finally we want to integrate with a real warehouse, with a real big company, it has to be reliable,
Mhm.
it has to be repetitive, and only little errors are acceptable. If this is the case, you finally need this actual robot. So to some extent, indeed, but we also had bigger industrial robots, and they were, well, like wild animals in put into the cage
Yeah, I can get
because
that.
of safety, because of
Yeah, I
public
get.
safety.
And I saw some what is it? Some pictures of some movies from Indeed, car plants where they make cars and stuff like that, where the robots are indeed behind cages one way or another, and you're not allowed to enter the cage as a human person until the whatever red button is turned off,
Yeah,
to make sure that it's safe.
yeah,
But that's always been the case, even with mechanical machines, I would say, that are crushing stuff. So that's it's something we've learned over the years, and I think in many companies where they are doing stuff with robots or with big dangerous machines, that's always been a safety issue. Make sure that the machines are turned off before you humans or we humans go in meanwhile. But it's nice that you say also we could try out some stuff with default existing things that we can play around and code around and do some stuff. So that
yeah,
sounds like a very agile way of working. And I
exactly.
wanted to bring it up or get more some details because I know a lot of people, or I've been in a lot of discussions with people where they say, yeah, but it's easier in software, but once you get into hardware, and actually I heard many. Agilists do have some experience in some kind of more hardware related stuff, and I think it's even more important there because the costs are even higher if you do it
Exactly,
without it, I would say.
exactly.
Okay, already very interesting story. Let's jump into that first question, and maybe we already answered some of that. But what is something that people usually don't know about you, but has influenced you in who you are?
Um, well, I believe it is related to the ways that I learn. This
Mhm.
might be not obvious, and some people observe the consequences of that, but they don't understand. And I sometimes I'm laughing because I believe some people may think that I'm a bit crazy, and that's fine. I'm absolutely okay with
Nothing
that.
wrong with being crazy.
uh, Even if they believe it's something wrong, well, everyone has their own perception, right? But I've learned over the years, although we still have, at least in Poland, very traditional way of working and teaching, working at schools and teaching. So lectures, a lot of stuff that you have to learn by heart. So I remember that it was difficult for me, especially at the very beginning of my school, to learn things. So for me, learning by heart was always the most terrible punishment. But that was the system, right? And parents were pushing, like, hey, we don't accept poor grades. This is a sign that something is wrong. Well, my personal opinion as an adult is a bit different, but it used to be an opinion of my parents, and also many parents believed in that. So, because of all those issues on the table, on the plate, I started to look for ways. I have to learn it somehow, right? I have to find myself, my way in the system. So I realized that I love riddles, and I love songs. So over the years, I've learned that if I create something strange, strange connections, strange questions in my head, and even if I can sing them, I will remember, and there's even a chance that I will remember it for many, many years. So, so this is how I discovered that for me, learning things by listening to the music, to the song, helps me a lot. So maybe that's why from time to time people, when they have a chance to talk to me, they are surprised that I'm, making short song connections, or I'm inventing my own songs. And this is because it helps my brain. This is something that I've learned about myself. I discovered this ability in myself, and I decided to embrace it, because why not? This is my superpower, right? What is your?
I really like that. And I, well, the same thing about learning. Learning by heart was something I was really, really bad at. Right from yeah, the first year in school, I would say, trying to understand something and then creating my own story around it. Or yeah, I mean, I remember even at some point for mathematics, I solved yeah, what is it? I'm not sure the right way, but you have to a proof, so we have to learn a certain proof. And I did it in a slightly different way as what the teacher taught us in school, and I was turned down because I didn't put in the right proof. And my father really looked at it and said, "But there's nothing wrong with what you did. You took too many steps. There is a better way." So I can understand you don't get 10 out of 10 for this exercise, but I failed for that small exercise. It wasn't that big, but it was still, it was like, why does that teacher? Because yeah, you didn't reproduce exactly what we've taught you. Well, sorry, my brain is different, but I actually think I understood it better than many of my co-students who just reproduced it and didn't understand anything. Actually had a friend who lost the line, so he reproduced it, and he forgot one line, and he got more points than me, where he actually it didn't make any sense. So yeah, it still makes me well, angry is maybe too strong a word, but I still get emotion about that kind of stuff. Um, and it's not that well, I think it's the world of reproduction, reproducing stuff is was maybe more important in the past. I won't say that it's not important, but I think thinking people and trying to understand the world for me is much more interesting. And I think we need both, but I'm definitely not just like you, the person who can create the stuff on myself. And I really like your idea of creating a song around it. So yeah, it's interesting. And so do you have done that similar? For example, you're a trainer for Scrum.org. Do you reproduce some stuff in songs to remember it, or do you then use your slides? On how do you work when you teach stuff?
Ah, fantastic question. So sometimes I just sing one line, people laugh, and they remember. Maybe I can give you an example. So one
Hmm.
of the biggest challenges that I see when I work with Scrum Masters at the very beginning of their journey is that they want to do things for others, and this feeling is so strong that they wanted to become a superhero for the team. And we know that this is something risky, right? Because obviously if you do something for the team, you most likely are taking from then opportunity to self-manage. So this should not be your default behavior. And to make this entertaining and to help them remember, I, for instance, sing just one line: "We don't need another hero." This is what your team is singing to you every day.
Yes, I like that. I like that idea. Yeah, what you just described. I'm trying to come up who came up with the name, but it reminds me of the what some people call the Scrum Mom. Indeed, taking
Mm-hmm.
care of the team like his child. I would say it might be good at some point, depending on where a team is. But in the long
Yeah.
term, I fully agree. For me, there's two parts. First of all, depending on where a team is, if it's very infant as a team, it might be good to help them. Also, to set an example, to really say, okay, what it is to remove impediments. Okay, people think it's not possible. You show it them that it's possible, but we have to at some point stop doing it, because indeed, then they kind of think that the scrum master take cares of all the stuff, and they don't take responsibility themselves. A little bit like with children as well, I would say. There's a moment that yeah, if a child is just born, they can't dress themselves, but if at 18 me or my partner would still dress my children, that would be unhealthy, if they're of course having normal capacities and everything.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but that's keeping people small. You wanted to add something to that?
Yeah, yeah, of course, because in general, I believe you are absolutely right. The Scrum Mom is an old term, and my preference is towards Scrum Parent or Scrum Caretaker, to be inclusive, right? Not to put the
Yes,
dimensions like
thank
mom,
you.
right? So this is something that I wanted to emphasize, and I believe that you beautifully describe what is leadership, especially important in agile context, but not only, and not parenting in the way like I have a small child. So I have such a saying that no one wants to be treated like a child, including children. So
Oh
that's
yes.
why so that's why my preference is teaching people you can become a leader, and leadership is not a binary thing, right?
Mm,
So you have to understand context, you have to understand the situation, and always remember about the final goal and the outcome. You want to empower people, not help them stay in this cozy feeling like some people will do things for me, right? So this is my point when I think we don't need another hero. It means we need a leader that will help us grow, not someone that will always be there to save us. Once again, Joanna saved the day, right? No.
mm. I liked also when you stressed out the inclusiveness. When I said, and I didn't add it here, but thanks for the reminder. When I said Scrum Mom, I thought about what's the how's it called, the archetypical mom. So you have in ancient archetypes, you have the mother role and the father role, and it even there they very explicitly say that it doesn't have to be a woman that has to take the mother role. I actually know a few couples where it's actually the man who takes on the archetypical mother role. And I was talking from that stance, not from it's a mother or it's a woman or a man. But indeed, without that explanation, it gives that idea that is. Thank you very much. And it brings also the kind of thing that is extra to add to that, is that in that archetype, the so-called mom role is the one protecting the person, and the father role is the kind of the person that pushes the child
Mhm.
out the door, standing on its own. And archetype typical, what they say is, for healthy children, you need kind of both roles. You need someone who protects the child to say, okay, you're good and I help you, whatever. And you need another person that pushes people, say, okay, you're actually good enough. You can stand on your own, try it out, and do some more experiments in the world. Um, and this is actually, I have a few friends who are standalone parent, and for them, they say that's the hardest part, doing both of these roles as a single person. That's really hard, and it might actually be some part that is hard to, now I think about it, for a scrum master, because you kind of do both roles, but then not just for one person, but for a team. So that's very good. Oh, I'm already going to think a lot hard about that. So thank you for all that explanation. We'll jump right into many of the different things of agility. Let's move to that second question. If you had not been doing what you've been doing now, do you have any idea what would have become of you?
Yes. And I have a very clear idea. I would be a doctor. Well, actually, I am a doctor. Trust me, I am a
I
doctor.
was I was about to say you have a PhD, so technically you're a doctor.
Technically, I am. And I'm really fond of people making laugh at me because of that. I love that personally. So I would be a doctor, but a doctor of medicine, and
Mm.
I would be a surgeon. Not a
Wow.
surgeon that will help you improve your eyes because you don't like them. I love reconstruction surgery. I love when the surgeons help people who was born who are born with some huge problems. Their body did not create properly an ear, or they are missing some parts of their body. Something is unusual happening, and it makes their life bad. It makes them sad. It makes them feel like we are outcasts. So I love this part of the job when it comes to surgery. So doing things, difficult things that require a lot of focus, that require a lot of thinking how to do that, and I'm not allowed to make any mistake, because otherwise, I don't know, if I do a wrong reconstruction, someone may even lose a part of their face. Not only will they not have this new ear, but the problem will be
Word.
huge, much, much worse. So definitely, I would be a surgeon, improving people's life, and I'm interested in reconstruction surgery, in the surgery that creates things that maybe 50 or more years ago seemed to be impossible, but now they are, and I would definitely be doing that.
Wow. And what triggers these ideas? What makes you want to move in that direction, or why are you interested in this? If you want to share, of course.
Yeah, yeah, I can. Because I believe it's a power of changing someone's life. It's a huge power and responsibility at the same
Mhm.
time. So for me, when I work with companies and individuals as a Scrum Master, Agile coach, trainer, for me, amazing part and the best feedback I've ever received was, you changed my life. You helped me change my life in a positive direction. And as the surgeon, I will have amazing potential, amazing opportunities to change someone's life like significantly. So for me, making someone happy because of what I can do with their body and helping them find more reasons to smile, this is an extremely powerful motivational boost. So that's why this particular thing.
Well, I recognize a big part of what you're saying. I mean, helping people and giving them a better life. Indeed, yeah. Getting that remark, I remember receiving not so long ago a mail from someone I helped 10 years ago, and I literally thought that that person completely didn't understand anything about what I was saying. I really felt I failed. And then, I don't know, 4, 5, maybe 10 years later, I get an email, oh, you changed so much my life, and this is so much better. And yeah, I still remember that feeling. And when you say, when someone tells you like that, I immediately thought about that person, especially because I didn't see it coming at that moment. I really thought like, this person is not interested. And so, yeah, I was, but what I found very compelling about your story is that you do have that experience in the agile world, and still you want to go it at a very extreme level, indeed changing someone's body to make their life. Yeah, that's not that is yeah, whatever I do, and I guess in that sense what you do is nothing compared to that other part. And so I'm still a little bit puzzled. I can see the compelling thing, huh? Definitely, if I would be able to do that, yeah, that's the summum, I would say. But how did it trigger you to think about that? Because I've never thought about that. Now you made me think about it. But is there something that an experience, a movie, I don't know, something that made you think about that? Because you said
Mhm.
very clearly, I know what I want to do. That is
Yes.
kind of like you're working on it. So there must be I feel there must be something. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm not sure what are we looking for, because there are indeed some more important things, but maybe you should also know that as a child, maybe teenager, together with my class and my teacher, we were a part of a group helping volunteering actually in my town to help people who was born with terrible diseases that cannot be fixed, that cannot be cured. And some of them had Down syndrome, some of them were completely fully functioning when it comes to brain, but their body was not helping them push what they really want, right, in life. So they were
Mm,
attached 24 hours a day to a wheelchair or to bed. And I believe that because I've seen those people, they were adults. We were children or teenagers, they were adults. And some of them were left behind by some of their family members. So, unfortunately, based on my experience, a lot of guys, a lot of men just left the family all because sick child was born. And I believe when I was learning at school about biology, chemistry, physics, and it was clear, it was years ago, right? I'm not so young
mm.
currently. It was years ago when I realized that the science can help those people. And we as a society, we can do something for them. So I believe it was one of the factors that helped me think about it, like there are some things that you can do for them. And as the opposite to the story that you explained, if you do a surgery, you may see good surgery results in weeks. So this is something that helped me think, make me think like they have a lot of different troubles, and a good surgeon can help such people significantly improve their lives and help their families, because it was also a big challenge to the people who decided we will stay with that child, we will not put it into a shelter or any other place, we will still be a family, right? We care about you. So maybe this is a factor, important factor. We've been doing it for a few years. So working closely with that community, we were having some meetings together, dancing, doing a theater for them. So I believe it was an important part of my young life.
Wow, such a yeah. You already talked about what had influenced you, but this seems to have influenced you even more. That's an incredible story. Yeah, yeah, it really touches me because I know how hard it is when people are having some kind of difficulties. And yeah, I'm not sure how much we can sell or solve their problems already with science and what you just talked about before about doing operations surgeries to solve other kind of similar kind of problems, because it's also about, okay, nature creating a human body that is not fully functional if it's either on in the brain or either in the body itself. It's both, yeah, kind of strange things of nature, I would say. Sometimes triggered to things that we don't always know. But yeah, trying to help to fix that is indeed uh, thing. And what you state about, yeah, parents not being able to deal with their children, it's horrible. And at the same time, I know my partner works with people who have all extreme versions of autism, so on a day-to-day basis. And she sees that many parents have difficulties, many relationships uh, break up over that because parents deal with it in a different way. And I know it's hard for parents. So yeah, it's then good that we have people who care about it and help out, because it is hard with, and most of us cannot imagine how hard it is, both for the parents, for the siblings, and other things. And it's good that your school, because I assumed it was your school that helped out or let you
Yeah.
have that experience with that. So that is good, because I think it creates also kind of empathy, that as a child you can really realize a little bit how privileged you are in a way that you've grown up as a natural, normal human being without having these difficulties, and that it's not the same for each and every one of us. um, and some of these cannot yet be fixed in an easy way. Okay, let's move on to the next question. What do you consider your biggest challenge so far, and why is it a good thing for you?
Oh, I love that question. Biggest challenge and why it is good for me. I love that connection. Um, what is my biggest challenge? Well, I believe that I'm a fighter, time fighter.
Hmm.
So, because of all my experience, and actually, we tackled, well, I haven't thought about it earlier, but we talked about my school, we talked about the way how I work. So, in general, although different challenges happened in my life, there was always one coming back and back and back, and it always makes me super, super angry. So I'm always angry when it comes to time, because I believe that life is too short, and there are so many fantastic things to read about it, to talk about it, to try to do something about it. By the way, most likely this is why I did my PhD, because I was curious. I wanted to give it a try, and I was so stubborn and committed to try to improve humankind knowledge, because this is how I would explain what is in general the purpose of doing PhD or similar studies: to improve, to extend humankind knowledge, right? So I was so stubborn and so fighting. And I remember what I did to myself in my 20s. I was working or studying 7 days a week. So I had a job at
Wow.
Nokia. I was doing occupational health and safety school during the weekends. And I was also a PhD student, which meant I had to do my research together with my mentor. And I had my own classes that I had to participate in as a student. And every single semester, I had my students. So people only, well, I would say very similar age as mine. So they were in their 20s too. And I was teaching them about fundamentals of robotics and so on. So I was so stubborn. I remember that well during that
So,
time.
just I want to interrupt a little bit. That feels like three jobs at the same time. Am I exaggerating, or does it really feel, because you explained three different parts?
Mm, I would say 4 or 5, because
Wow.
at the
Okay.
same
Which
university,
ones?
it's a
Uh,
different job when you are doing your research. It's a separate job to conduct classes, to help students learn, assess their knowledge, give them feedback. So this is another job. And when you are as a student and you have your own projects with professors about more advanced classes, this is something separate. So I could combine those experiences, right? I was still one person gathering all those experiences, but in fact, especially during first 2 years at university, I had 3 jobs in university. And my school,
yeah.
fortunately, it took me around 1 year and a half to finish my additional school, and I was constantly working, because unfortunately the university was not giving me enough money for the living, right? So this decision about PhD was, this is my internal motivation, my stubbornness, and my commitment. But this is what my professor during my first review and my first interviews told me. First, well, actually, it started with a question: Joanna, who will be giving you money for the living? And I looked at him and said, no one. I have to earn money. So I'm sorry, there is a huge chance that you will fail, because you have to find a job. And majority of the students, to be honest, almost no one was able to have a good enough money and be a good employee and conduct fully studies, PhD studies, and finish that. And I did it. I was 27 when my PhD thesis was ready. Oh my God.
Yeah. I think this deserves it because, like you say, not many people do it. First of all, PhD in itself is hard. I see it in yeah, for many people, and you do it combined with work, with also teaching at the university and everything. So that is incredible, and indeed at a very young age in that sense. So yeah, I think it does deserve something. So we talked about. Oh, this started with the challenge about that part. So, what is the good part about these challenges? Because you said you talk about. I think the stubbornness is part of your challenge. I think what is so good is the results that you get out of that. Is that how I should see this answer?
I believe that both this limit of time and the stubbornness help me, on one hand, to pursue my goals,
Mhm.
and at the same time, it's a very important trigger when it comes to thinking about what should I focus on and which of the things I
Mm,
will not be great at. So I've learned to make better decisions, and I've learned to accept certain things. Like my mentor used to tell me, like, Miss Joanna, you can be the best in the world, but not in every single aspect of life, and I fully agree with that.
but how easy was that to get that feedback?
It was extremely difficult, at least for me, extremely difficult. I it took me like many years to finally accept that time is limited, and sometimes you have to let it go. Ha, by the way, another song, let
Another
it
song.
go, let it go. So Frozen. To let some of the things go, to tell to yourself, like, it will be enough if I do it here like that. So if perfection is your friend, it might be a terrible friend sometime, right? Not the
Mm.
best, not the best friend ever. And to focus on what gives you this power, this feeling every single day that, okay, it's worth leaving my bed, going outside, doing things, and pursuing my goals.
Thanks for sharing that. And the song, I was, yeah, it's something I've seen or said in the past also to people I've been working with, because indeed sometimes you have to let it go, and yeah, you gave a perfect example. You can be really good at solving something, but you can't solve the whole world. There's always, but and actually that ties back to what you said earlier on. You also have to let problems for other people to solve, because that's also a part. Maybe even if you would be able to solve all the parts of the world, what will the rest of the world do? That kind of we also want other people to solve some other parts. So thanks for sharing that.
You're
um,
welcome.
it's these are wonderful stories, and I think this kind of brings very natural into that next question. You feel the passion. I feel the passion. I feel everything that you want to change. Do you know where that passion is coming from?
What drives you? Well, I
Yeah,
feel like we already tackled that. The best
I had
things
the
that,
feeling it's
yeah,
also
the
so
best things, yes, that happened in my life were when I felt I helped someone improve their life. So I
and
even sorry.
yeah, and what I heard is that that was fed, or that was learned a lot by what happened with you in school when you were young, helping other people, and seeing that when I when I saw the question, I thought, oh, probably that's a similar kind of story. So, but well, maybe we did it in a different order, but that is kind of the thing. That so let's move to that next question. What do you consider your biggest achievement so far? Because you've talked about so many different things. Is there anything, and maybe before we go there, because the question below that question is that this is actually giving you the opportunity to be proud of yourself and to really be, yeah, to be. Is that easy for you to be proud of yourself?
Oh my God. Only great questions coming. Is it easy? No, it's not. It's
Mm.
not, and I believe it's because of my past and because of my master's studies. Because I was one of four ladies in our maybe not department but in our faculty. We there were around, I don't know, 180 people starting this area of expertise, and there were only four ladies, and I was the only one who does not have any engineering background. So
Wow.
I did not graduate from technical secondary school. I graduated from a school that gives you a very broad, generic knowledge about the world. So I believe that I heard.
Do I hear that you kind of felt as an imposter at that moment, or am I hearing?
Yes, 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 that is correct. And I not only felt like imposter, it was even worse. I heard, and I'm not now exaggerating, like hundreds of times that I have to prove myself that I deserve to be there among
Mm,
men, and a lot of them graduated from technical schools. They know about electricity, they know about all the nuances, because I was in the department of or faculty of electronics. So, you know, a lot of engineering, very specialized stuff. And during my first year, I felt like an idiot, to be fully honest with you and with everyone. And I believe that it took me like 2 3 years to learn how to be a part of that. And another fun fact, I was the best graduate of the whole faculty of electronics when I was graduating, the only woman in the group of 10. But it started with me almost crying because I felt like extremely, extremely bad person. And even the teachers, academic teachers, were telling me, mostly guys, mostly men were teaching there, like I have to prove. Joanna, you have to prove you are the woman, so you have to prove that you did not come here to find a husband. So that was
at that level,
yes, yes,
wow, that is. The, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's insane.
it
And then
is.
you graduated as the best of your class.
Yes,
And so
a best of the bigger
how,
group. In fact, I was the best on the level of a few hundred people.
and how many of the people with who you started, how many of them did graduate off of that? Do you know that?
I don't know the exact number, but definitely not everyone, and some simply failed to finish studies at all. Some of them decided to do just their bachelor's and that, and I was there. I was there, and I graduated in the first group of people. So in the first possible date when we could have our final exams and
So
final
so
closing.
so people tell you that you don't belong there. Not only do you graduate, you don't lose any time. So you don't miss a year. You become the best, and you become a PhD. All of
Yes.
that, and wow, it's that is something to be proud of. And did any one of these teachers ever, I don't know, say sorry, or did they say anything about the fact that they actually treated you as a person who didn't belong? And did anyone say, "Well, Joanna, you proved that you belong here"?
It was because of my colleagues. In fact, I stayed because during my first semester, I had a lot of thoughts that I will leave that. I don't belong
Mhm.
here. This is what I hear directly or indirectly in different ways. So I should leave it. Maybe I should start thinking, maybe I will become a surgeon one day, right? Or someone else. But it was my colleagues, and they realized that it's not true that I don't belong there. And I remember during our first semester, we had a class with a gentleman teaching us about mechanics, different parts of mechanics, and he shared, that's terrible, definition of what does it mean that something is easy. And he said, this book about cars is very easy. It's so easy. It's extremely easy. Even a woman can understand that. And after that class, my colleague went to me and they asked me, Joanna, should we have a conversation with that guy? Because he's telling bullshit. And I told them, you know what? He's from a different department. He's just visiting us. We are not going to fight with an old, sorry, stupid guy. So let us leave him alone and let's focus on what we can do, what makes sense for us, what is valuable for us. But I appreciate that you came to me asking me like maybe we should talk to him, right? That something wrong is with him.
It's incredible. Okay, we're talking about years and years ago, but I still see similar kind of things with sometimes with teachers, and yes, mostly male teachers. I would say 90% of that thinking that women can't have, yeah, think or understand some of the things. But I'm glad that well, actually, you've shown to be the more mature person, and okay, pushing back, showing that you could do it, not giving up with whatever sexist remarks that they would give to you, and then becoming the best of the class is actually showing them a lot better that that you did belong there. So that is a big achievement there. So thanks for sharing that. And unfortunately, it brings back some probably also some negative emotions about that time. But I think it's also really important that people realize that this is how, if sometimes women give up, it's not so much always about their capabilities, but also about really bad remarks that, yeah, old age professors are giving them. And then, yeah, that is also something that is important to keep talking about.
Agree. Fully agree. That's why, by the way, I love working with people who have similar experience, that someone is telling them you do not belong here because of name, strange reason. So if anyone wants to have a chat with me, I'm open to listen to you and trust me, even if everyone, almost everyone, is telling you you don't belong here. You can show them that it's the opposite, right? It's the opposite. You do belong. And again, I did my PhD with honors. It was not just a PhD, it was some special PhD. People were
This
very
story
happy.
this story becomes bigger and bigger and better and better. So that's for sure. And but I'm glad you do, because, like you said in the beginning, it is hard for you to be proud of on some of these things, and I think that is a lot because of some of the messages that people keep telling you and others, like you don't belong here. Why are you even here? And that people then sometimes are even not proud enough about, hey, damn it, I do belong here. You did end up the first of your class in the first possibility. You did become a PhD with honors and everything. So yes, you do belong, and you probably a lot more than some of the others in your class. And again, it's not about ranking, and it's not about others don't belong, because that's for even the people who barely succeeded belong there as well. Because let's face it, the study that you did is not an easy study. On top of it, that I mean, yeah, I've seen people sometimes, yeah, struggling and think, yeah, maybe it's not good. But if you succeed in that, even if it's hard, and you pull through, then you still do belong in these kind of things. And the struggle and pushing through the struggles is also what that makes people strong. Let's move to that next question. What do you have a personal agility tip to share?
Yes, try to avoid overthinking and try to experiment as quickly and as cheap as possible to learn. Period.
Wow. These are two very powerful things, and indeed they work very nicely together. When we overthink, just trying out an experiment, what's the cheapest way to test out if it's working, if I'm wrong, if I'm right? Because I think I had a friend who once say you're that in a coaching conversation I watched, he say you're thinking yourself in a corner, and I was like, whoa, this is so true with so many people. If we don't experiment, we kind of think this is why it's not possible or whatever, and it usually doesn't help us. And doing an experiment is something that is so powerful. That is so. Thank you for that, because it's a very easy, small. These are two small tips, but at the same time, so powerful and so you can work with it in any kind of way, in almost any kind of situation. So thanks for sharing that. That is something that is very powerful. Let's move to that next one. What have you learned about remote working? Well, that kind of also has the sub question: did you do any remote working before COVID, or because most of us started to do that during COVID, but did you do that also before or not?
No, almost not. And I was, well, normally when you work, for instance, at university, you have some remote work because obviously, if you are focused on your research, you are doing stuff at home, you're doing things in the park, you're taking the
Mhm.
article. Good example of what I was doing, for instance, in the park or in the bus. From time to time, I was reviewing someone else's articles because in the scientific community in general, we should review the work of others, especially if someone wants to present the results into the public. So when I had a chance, I was printing the article that I was supposed to give feedback, and I was taking a pencil and doing it after hours, right? So for me, to some extent, like I'm doing things remotely in asynchronous way, not necessarily in the being in the university was a normal thing. But when I think about my experience with, for instance, Nokia or further assignments, further jobs, um, it wasn't usual that you were working from home. It was possible. So, for instance, I don't feel fully well, but I feel I can work. Can I stay? It was
Mm.
something that was acceptable, and it was okay. Of course, they were asking. Wise manager will ask why not to take a sick leave, why not to call a sick leave and just rest. But if you did not want to do that, you still wanted to do things, just doing it at home, doing the most important things from home, that was possible. But for me, the actual remote work started with COVID times, and I have to say that thanks to that, I've learned that I really enjoy the ride. I really enjoy working remote because for me, out of the sudden, more windows and more door became open, and I've learned that even if you don't see someone, because that was also my experience, I was
Mm.
having very strong connections and fantastic collaboration with people through the phone. So, for instance, we were having a meeting. Okay, I need to go for a walk. I've been at home for many hours. Are you okay with that? You know what? Let's take our phones and we will be working together, talking, and I will be walking in my forest, you will be walking in the park. So why not? And this is what I did. I've learned that it is possible to have a very good connection and collaboration. And although it's an amazing experience to meet someone personally, without that, I wouldn't be able to meet so many amazing people. Not to mention people outside of Poland from different time zones, but also I've met some fantastic people from Poznań, which is another city in Poland, and we were working remote. We had a lot of connections remotely, and it won't be possible, I believe, to have such strong collaboration in a traditional setting, because we will not be eager, to travel so often. And when COVID became our new norm, everyone got used to, okay, we have computer, we have our phones, and it turned out to me a fantastic new chapter in my life, new connections, new people, and I've learned that I can form fantastic collaboration in that way.
So thanks also for sharing the story about picking up the phone and going for a walk, because that's sometimes that I think many people have already forgotten. I've actually done a lot of coaching while walking before COVID, just walking together with a person, if it's in the city or if it's in nature. I've seen many people doing similar stuff, indeed, on the phone. We have some strange kind of idea that we should always look at the people, and are, yeah, of course, it's much nicer the fact that I can look you into the eye, even if in an electronic way. But for some things, it's not always needed. It's much more about the connection and feeling it, and taking the time. And on a walk, I don't know how it's for you, but for me, it feels that when I'm on a walk going somewhere, it feels that I take much more time with a person. It's less about that next meeting or the next thing that's coming up. And even if I don't always look at you at that moment, I might still feel much more connected. Yeah, some people might still talk while walking with a screen, looking at each other, but it feels there is multiple ways of connecting. That's a little bit what I hear in your story, and I really like that. And I think, of course, a lot depends a little bit with the new technology and everything. I'm probably it's easier for me because I grew up in a moment that, yeah. If I think about the 80s and the 90s, for me, connecting with family was over the phone. There was no internet and everything. So if I wanted to connect to friends, I just would call them up and maybe talk for an hour or something like that. These days, the kids I see, my children, use much more video calls, and everything. But I think it's, yeah, there is ways to connect, that we don't always realize before. So thanks for adding that. Let's move to that next question about a book. What's a book that you have read, or that's a book that you wanted to talk about?
There is one book that I would love to talk about. Of course, there are a lot of great books, but when I saw initially the question, I immediately thought about that book. So this is, oh, where is it? The Professional Product Owner by Don McGreal and Ralph Jocham. And this is the book
This is
that,
the book, and these are the two people.
yes,
I think.
exactly. Exactly. So why I wanted to emphasize that book, because based on my experience, this is the book that I most often recommend to someone. And fun fact,
Mm,
not only to a product owner. Why?
mm,
Because this book does not only explain Scrum through the prism of product ownership, but it is also very useful because it brings some ideas and tools. So there are some toolkits there, ideas, and I even recommend it to leaders because you can also say that everyone has a product. Everyone has some needs coming through different directions. And this book, with some explanations, pictures, frameworks, can be super powerful no matter whether you are a Scrum Master, product owner, leader, developer in the team. And what I really, really love about this book, dun, 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 let me show that, because this is one of the most important parts for me. Index. I love that. I simply love that because whenever you are looking for some concept like, okay, I would love to know about testing. Oh, there is test-driven development, agile testing quadrants. Oh, for functional, automated functional tests, right? And you can easily find, you can easily read about only about that part. So this is not a book that I recommend just take it and read it in the evening. Use it as your daily supporting tool. So that's why this book is always on my desk when I'm working.
mm. I really like that you stress that, and I'm sure that Johanna Rothman would love that you talk about index, because I know that when she creates her, because she does a lot of her books herself, she hires especially a person to do the index, because she finds it so important that when people read the book, that they can find things back. And I think it's indeed something that is that is important for people, for especially for books like this one. This is a reference book, like you say. You look at, maybe you have read it, but even I can imagine that that's the kind of book that you would not even have read completely cover to cover. But when you from times, oh, I want to learn about this, okay, I look into the index and I take that part out. That's a little bit how that book feels, right? That's
Yes.
correct.
That is correct. And my colleague Ralph Jocham tends to laugh that I haven't read that book because it does not look like someone read it carefully. But you know what? It does not matter what is the
Mm.
true. Uh, but yes, I'm reading that book regularly, partially. I recommend it as exactly as you described. So don't don't get scared because it's not a small book. Use it as a tool with references. If you have any questions, problem, idea, check index and look through the book. And maybe you will find already enough inspiration here. And if not, there's always a chance that you will get more references in the text because Ralph and Don are adding a lot of ideas in their text, like we borrowed that from someone, or you can find more about it in that and that place.
Thanks for adding that part, because it's indeed and yeah, like you say. Well, the thing about seeing how well a book is used, that's a little bit, that depends. Some people are very careful that the book shouldn't look touched. Others, like for me, like I don't care if I when I read a book cover to cover. I have some books that almost falling apart. Um, Sometimes it's about the quality of the book. Sometimes it's about having read it multiple times. That really depends a little bit. But yeah, it's how you use a book. So thanks for bringing the multiple versions on how you can use that book. Let's move to that next question. What question do you also think I should ask you, and what is the answer?
Oh my God, I don't know. I can tell you another story from my studies, which is it will be a joke right now, if you don't mind. So, when our professors were explaining extremely difficult and challenging topic, and they were asking, "Are you having any questions?" I always had one in my head. What are the sausages made of? And
Wow.
one day I asked it out loud to the professor, and he was laughing. And thanks to that, I realized that you can be a very focused professor on engineering, on challenging topics, but you can also have a good sense of humor.
I really like that. It shows indeed how sometimes when people ask very seriously, and it's indeed, I would say sometimes when you ask the question, do you have any questions at the end of a presentation? It's kind of hard for people to ask or to come up with something. And I think a silly question like this one can actually take away the pressure and take away the whole thing. So I think it's actually a good thing. Um, and yeah, it is sometimes hard. Yeah, when we ask at the end of a presentation, find a way how people can come up with questions around it. And it's not because there's no questions that everything is clear, or that people don't care about your presentation. It could be that it was very clear, or it could be that people were bored. It could be all kind of things. But usually we need that first, or the first two questions that people then ask, are really important to talk about what direction we want to go in. And this kind of answer is actually a very fun way. Do you actually also know the answer to this question, or is that
It's a rabbit hole. Please don't start this conversation. And yes, I do because Unfortunately, I had some problems with my health. And during a few moments in my life, I had to pay a lot of attention to what I eat. So trust
Mm.
me, sausages may have very strange ingredients.
So let's indeed not go into that. But it's actually, if people want to know, or if we want to answer it in the comments, might be a fun thing to see what things are. And I like that you add the stress indeed, because um, yeah, depending on what we eat, it can have a lot of influence. On how we feel. This is for me one of the things when I go to different countries. I'm at the same time very interested in trying out new foods and trying out new experiences, and at the same time very scared about eating something that will disrupt me. Especially, for example, going to a conference speaking. If I would need to speak, I will definitely not try something new just an hour before, because I have no idea what the impact will be. And it's good that you stress out that we have sometimes to be very careful. And with sausages, it's actually a good thing to mention that it's very hard to know what's inside. And knowing your body and knowing what are the things that you in one way also experimenting with is also important. But we have to know at what moment we're experimenting with. And just before a talk, for me, that's not the right moment to experiment with what I would eat, I would say. Um, um, let's move to that next question, and about who do you think I should also ask next?
So I have a very strong candidate. So his
Mhm.
name is Martin Hinshelwood, and there are two very good reasons why you should invite him.
Just
First,
first, this is him, right?
yes,
Am I
yes,
correct?
this is the guy. This is the amazing guy. So first point, he is one of the most kind and supportive person I've met. So
Mhm.
I feel lucky to have a collaboration with Martin, and I have to say that he has such a strong integrity, and he has such a strong understanding of what true agility is. So amazing human being. And the other important point is that we already tackled that a bit. So I'm really sensitive when it comes to inclusiveness, and Martin represents a certain group, people with neurodiversity, and I believe community can learn a lot from him about his struggles. So I know that Martin has some challenges in his life, and sometimes I'm smiling when I have a chance to correct his English. He is English native speaker, and I'm not. So this is just one of the issues, but in general, I believe he did amazing job in his life. He's still a fantastic trainer, consultant, and extremely kind person. So I really admire him a lot.
Wow, that's a lot of how would I say it? A lot of passion that how you describe a person. This is also for me one of the amazing things about doing these interviews, is that people always pick up people, and just like you just did, you share so much love for a person that actually immediately gives me like, okay, where can I schedule the next meeting? Where can I schedule the next conversation? It's been wonderful hearing you. Well, not just in this last few minutes, but also the full time that we've been talking about. It's been a wonderful conversation. This is, yeah, it's wonderful to hear you. Just your passion for yourself, but also for yeah, when you invite a person. So that's really wonderful. Now, if people want to talk to you, try to contact you, what would be a good way to contact you?
The best way is to contact me through LinkedIn, because I'm known for being super responsive when it
That
comes
should
to
be the link.
LinkedIn.
Is that correctly?
Yes, this is the correct link. So Please find me on LinkedIn. I'm also very easy to be found anywhere, because in fact I'm proud that I have a very unique combination of name and second name. So if you want to Google me, you will find it pretty easily. Feel free to write a message to me. I'm happy to connect. I'm happy to have a chat. So feel invited. Bring your topics. I'm happy to have a virtual coffee with you.
It's yeah. It's interesting how you say you have a very unique name these days and age. Of course, when I think both of us got our names, there was not so much important if it was unique in the full world. My parents didn't think of that because I actually have a nephew with the exact same name. But so if you Google, actually, I received yesterday a LinkedIn invite from someone that was for him and not for me, and that sometimes happens. So it's extremely interesting to have a unique name and being able when you Google you to find out, oh, this is just you. So that is indeed in this day and age very important. Um, it's like I said earlier, it's been an amazing day, or amazing moment to spend my Saturday morning. It's been a wonderful time. I've loved your stories. I hope we can at some point indeed connect physically and continue our conversation. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and I have to say that I had a very positive attitude and I was looking forward to it. I did not expect how deep questions you can ask, and actually, you uncover something that was and is extremely important part of my story, while I do not talk about it a lot. So I believe, thanks to you, more people will see the other side of myself. So this is amazing. I believe it's a gift, and I'm extremely grateful for this conversation.
Thank you for your nice words. It's yeah, it I'm amazed myself after so many years because I did invent these questions, or most of them, more than 10 years ago. And indeed, many people find them, and I'm myself as well, that it always helps to go much deeper. And yeah, and then it's with people like you who have such passion and such, I would say, fire for. Well, it's talking about yourself. So I sometimes people are a little bit scared, like, yeah, but do I have anything important to share? Yes, your story, the way you share it here, it is, yeah, it's so easy to get into much deeper questions, and especially if you have a very intriguing life story like you have, being, yeah, all that thing that happened to you at university and everything around that. Yeah, just makes it very easy to be very passionate about it. So I'm really glad that you shared it, and I hope it will inspire a lot more well, people, not just women, because I think men can be empowered and inspired by it as well. But yeah, we need more women into our whole industry, and more men need to learn that women do deserve their place here. So I think that's also important to share that story. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and I hope to see you soon, and maybe one day in person. That will be an amazing experience for sure.
I'm sure it will. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching Who's Agile, where the stories of agilists come to life. I hope you liked today's interview. Subscribe if you're not subscribed and want to get to know other agilists.